Okay, viewers, June 1 was the beginning of the Atlantic hurricane season here in Jamaica, and the Office of the Disaster and Preparation Management has joined us, preparedness, my apologies, has joined us to give some tips and help us to be informed about the hurricane season. At this time, we welcome Richard Thompson. He is the Acting Director General at the Office of Disaster Preparedness Management, ODPEM. Good morning, sir.
Hi, morning. Thank you for having me. Good morning to your listeners as well.
And viewers.
ODPEM.
All right.
Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management.
Mr. Thompson, this is something that we look forward, well, we have to anticipate every single year,
yes,
a hurricane season. From we're in school, we're learning about drills, we're seeing the posters. Now this year, you know, we just came out of a pandemic year. People are still now saying, boy, we have a hurricane season to prepare for. What kinds of preparation goes into this kind of planning to ensure that we are not going to lose lives or that we're really prepared?
Yes. So we're still in a pandemic. Globally, COVID still exists, and we have been doing our COVID response in country. Very good response so far. The preparation in terms of the hurricane season is right throughout the year. So we normally start it's a continuous process in terms of our preparation. Looking at our shelters on the side of the ODPEM and the municipal corporation who get involved in that on an annual basis. Our drain cleaning activities, our drain management activity, and looking at a modern drainage infrastructure across the island. That has been a long-standing situation where it continues every year. If you look at a lot of the new roads that have gone in, more modern drainage have gone in. So that
actual sidewalks, the little grills.
Yes, so you're seeing all of that. So that's a part and parcel of our preparation. Looking at our relief processes, we have a very good national disaster framework, which is probably one of the best in the Americas. We have a council which is chaired by the Most Honorable Prime Minister, and then you have various entities under that council. And we have under that council what is called committees of council. So one of the very active committee of council is your humanitarian committee of council, looking at now how you provide relief and assistance to persons that are impacted after a disaster event. And if we have a major hurricane, that's no different.
So you're saying you're meeting right throughout the year?
So we meet right throughout the year. We look at plans and programs and everything that we have to put in place. So for since last year, you know, would have been in the heights of COVID. And so shelters are part and parcel and mainstay of any kind of relief operations. For hurricane, you're talking about persons going in physical shelters, building, properly constructed building. If you're talking about earthquake, it becomes a little bit different where you look more at tentage type facility. So within our shelters, which are normally crowded spaces, we did a relook at our shelter protocol, and we ensured that within that protocol we built in COVID imperatives. So looking at now how a shelter will be operated in a major pandemic like COVID-19. And remember, one of the things that we preach about COVID-19 is your distancing. So you have to look at the spacing around your cot that you'll provide for persons to sleep on, and then you look at now how all the spaces have to be a proportion throughout the shelters.
But then, Richard, right now our shelters are pretty crowded. If an area starts to if several areas across Kingston and St. Andrew are flooded tomorrow, where are you going to be opening up new shelters? Do we have the capacity to do so?
So we would have done all those inspections before, and we would have identified those shelters. We have identified 867 shelters across the island for usage. So what you find a lot of the times, our shelters are schools.
Okay.
So in normal situation, no COVID, you'll find you might use one classroom in a school. This time around, once we would have identified and said, okay, this facility, whether it's a school or a church hall or a community center. Is good for a shelter, you now have to identify more space in terms of what is happening because of COVID. If it's a situation where there's not adequate enough space in that facility, you probably have to identify something else within that community. But for most of the time with the schools, we're trying to use more classrooms in the schools. You'd probably use 2, now you probably have to use 4. Critical to that now is the fact that You can't turn away persons coming into your shelters if they come in COVID positive. You can't, because of you have to provide for persons, and you have to ensure now that there is isolation facilities within these shelters. So we have looked at having isolation facilities for all the shelters that we have identified, and also know in terms of the overall inspections, we would have had the ODPEM, the local authorities, every single one of them across the country, Ministry of Health, Jamaica Fire Brigade, the roads and works within the parish council. All these persons were a part of the overall inspection to ensure that whatsoever we would have identified are adequate enough to treat with what the situation that we might face, and to ensure that our population is properly attended to.
One more thing I want to touch on. I think a few months ago there were these text blasts to people who use either Flow or Digicel. It was, I guess, ODPEM was doing a little test to see if you get the response. Explain that and how that will be implemented in real life. So
that's a part of what we call, or part of our, and parcel of our early warning systems, and that is called mass notification. So you might find that you are sending notification, and if you send it on radio, very few people listen to radio. You might, well, even though more persons still listen to radio than probably that watch television, but you are appealing to a small percentage of your population, or if you push it on TV, smaller. But almost everybody have a cell phone,
right?
And many persons have 2 cell phones, whether Flow or Digicel. So what we have done is partner with these entities to say, when we are in an emergency, we want you to send the emergency messages across your platform to all your
subscribers.
Your subscribers, and so we tested that.
Yes, I did receive one.
I'm happy that you did. So we tested that, and so it is important now that whenever time there's an emergency, you know that the notification will go to everybody.
To let them know this is happening in this area.
This is happening, and this is what we need you to do in terms of the response. Something that we have been trying to do for a very long time, and I think the push came a little bit more some years ago when we had that tsunami scare. I think it was about 4 years ago, December, and
fast-tracked a couple of planning.
So persons were saying that, but I did not get the message. I did not know that this would have happened, and I probably would have woke up and find myself at sea if you probably lived to tell the tale. So that would have fast-tracked what we wanted to do, to say we need to ensure that we can provide notification messages to the population if there's an event.
All right, how do we get information from ODPEM if we need some more?
So persons can come into the office, even though it's still COVID, but we still can get persons for brochures. There's our website, www.odpem.org.jm, and talking about that quickly, just to let persons know that in terms of our shelters, we have developed a new system now where persons can go onto our website, pull up the shelters, and see where their shelters are.
The nearest shelter.
The nearest shelter to them. I think it goes further to where if the shelters are open, they kind of change from red to green in terms of on the platform. You guys
are getting quite fancy.
So, yes, we have using the technology. So persons can go onto the website,
get some
and access information. They can visit their local authorities as well, because the municipal corporations are twinned with us in terms of the national disaster risk management process. Okay. So we don't do anything separated from the local authorities or the Ministry of Local Government, which a lot of the local authorities would report into. And so we have been having our meetings, and we have been having our planning programs going into the season. And so persons can access your information from there as well, and they can link with their parish disaster coordinators.
All right, Richard.
And so we will ensure that right through the season, we constantly keep getting better in terms of our preparedness.
And I sure hope we are very much prepared for this hurricane season.
And we will ensure that we follow through on our mandate to ensure that we are protecting our population.
Richard Thompson, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for
giving us some useful information, and I'm sure our viewers took quite a bit from it too.
Thanks very much.
All right. Adrian is sitting by with our next guest. Adrian, what's happening over there?